This is the Fearless Agent Podcast, where you learn how to make way more money fast selling real estate with your host, the Fearless Agent himself, Bob Loeffler.
And good day to you. This is Bob here at the Fearless Agent Podcast for real estate sales professionals like you, where we explain that every single thing you've been taught by the real estate industry is wrong, and you will make lots more money in way less time by doing the exact opposite. And last week we talked about, what were we talking about? Oh, it was about how features and benefits are not the way to go in sales. By the way, one of my coaching students called me and told me how a famous, he works for a fairly famous real estate company that most realtors have heard of, all of them. And the CEO of the company got up and made some YouTube presentation and said that Zillow, we all need to freak out and poop in our pants because Zillow is going to put realtors out of business. Now, this is the CEO of a major real estate corporation that you've all heard of. And I'm here to tell you that is baloney. And it's the same kind of baloney that isn't going to come true, just like all of the other predictions that same guy has ever made about the future of the real estate industry previously. And there are many he has made that have not come true. So I wish I had a nickel for every time somebody was predicting the demise of the real estate industry because of some new technology or new thing that's coming along that's going to make realtors no longer needed. And I'd be a nickillionaire if I had a nickel for every time I heard that. So here's why that's never going to happen. You know, real estate sales is difficult. Okay, very few people, a tiny percentage of the people who get into real estate succeed at any level and make even a decent income. And it's because there's a lot of moving parts. So first of all, last time I bought a car, which wasn't all that long ago, there was a massive amount of paperwork. So there's insurance on the car, there's the title, there's the warranty, there's all that stuff. Well, when you buy a house, it's a complicated thing, and there's competing interests between the buyer and the seller, supposedly, and it's a good idea to have a disinterested, level-headed professional guide you through that. But think about it, if it was your goal to sell your house for tens of thousands of dollars more than it was worth, and I'm the only agent that knows how to do that, would you use me or would you go on Zillow? I mean, Zillow is a non-existent entity in the real estate industry. I don't know why people are worried about it. So Zillow, it looks like it to me, is what they do is they make money by advertising on TV, internet, different places, radio, and then they generate buyer leads. They do that, and then they sell those to real estate professionals, and then they advertise. So that's how they make money. That's their business model, and they're successful at doing that. But they don't have an impact on the real estate industry at all. And the funny thing is, now I guess they're getting into, I think that the CEO of this major company, which rhymes with Schmeller-Williams, by the way, in case you were wondering, is all shook up because they are going into the we buy ugly houses business. So they're going to be purchasers of houses and advertise to purchase houses. But again, it's just a scam to get listing leads and sell them to realtors. But you can generate an unlimited supply of listing leads, and they're going to buy them at a discount if they're going to offer to buy the house quickly at a discount. So you have a choice when you're a seller. You can either have it take a long time to sell your house at a big discount, or you can sell your house very quickly for more than it's worth. So if you have a choice of having it take a long time to sell your house at a big discount, which is the way most agents do it, that's the business model of real estate agents mostly, or you could sell it very quickly for quite a bit more than it's worth, which would you pick? There'd be less hassle to sell it very quickly for more than it's worth. So if you're a fearless agent, that's what you're offering. So what Zillow is offering is sell your house at a big discount very quickly. Well, if you had to choose between sell it very quickly at a big discount or have it take a long time to sell it at a big discount, the way most realtors do it, yeah, I guess maybe they might do it through Zillow. But they're not going to. I already know that. So how do most real estate consumers, sellers, choose their real estate professional? And the way is about 40% of them choose it. By the way, with today's technology, what percentage of them choose it based on any kind of digital marketing, web, Facebook, anything like that, choose their realtor? And the answer is about 6 or 7%. And that has never gone up. So now how do they find the house they're going to buy or something like that? Well, it's going to be through the MLS. 99% of the people, roughly, are going to buy a house because they heard about it through the MLS one way or the other through their realtor. So usually the only people who don't use a real estate professional are people who are buying a new home from a builder where there isn't typically a real estate agent involved, although sometimes there is, or they're for sale by owners, and the for sale by owners are a very tiny percentage of the market. So, and it's never been more difficult to sell your house on your own without a realtor than it is today, even with all the technology. I think that's made it more difficult, actually. So if you're willing to call up and down the street, you can make a lot of money. So what do you say is the question. So when you're cold calling, you get taught to say all kinds of bad things by the real estate industry. So one of them is just listed, just sold, or I have a buyer, or what is the other things they tell you to say? But anyway, so you're I'm calling because I just sold the house down the street, and I was wondering if you want to sell your house. Now, this is a crazy, horrible thing to say when you're cold calling. And here's the reason why. It violates the first principle of sales, which is in real estate, which is you never talk commission until they're sold on the price. So right away, we're never going to ever talk commission on the telephone with a potential seller, okay? You never talk price until they're sold on you and listing their house with you tonight. So when you say, and then the other one was you never talk about you until they're sold on the idea of using an agent. So if it's a for sale by owner, obviously they're not sold on using any agent, so you have to sell them on the idea of using an agent. And when they're sold on that, they go, yeah, this FSBO idea was crazy. I don't know what I was thinking. Only then would you give the Fearless Agent listing presentation. And at the end of that, when they say, oh, yes, Bob, you're the guy, I'm definitely listing my house with you tonight, only then would I give my pricing presentation. And at the end of that, when they're begging me to underprice their house, only then at the very end, the amount I charge is a formality. So we're not talking commission until they're sold on the price. We're not talking price till they're sold on listing their house with me tonight. And we're not talking about listing anything until they're sold on the idea of using a real estate professional. So when you cold calling, and you say, hey, I'm calling because, this is Bob with Fearless Agent Realty, and I'm calling you because I just sold the house down the street, and or I just listed the house around the corner, and I was wondering if you might be thinking of selling your house, and blah, 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 blah. Then they are going to say, oh, how much did you sell that house for? Well, when you say, well, I sold that one for $459,000 or I listed it for $360,000, there's a 50-50 chance that they're going to say, well, that doesn't sound like very much money. You must be a bad agent, right? So you've got a greater than 50% chance of them having a negative opinion of the price because they think their house is worth more than it is. And again, you've elongated the call and you get into that chit-chat about the price and, oh, I forgot, this person doesn't even want to sell their house anyway. They'll never sell the house. They're going to die in that house. And I could have found that out much quicker, that it's a no, if I'd have skipped all that drivel about the house I listed down the street or the one I sold around the corner. I could have skipped all that. So that's a disaster. Just sold, just listed calling, crazy. I don't know why they teach that. It's just, if you just think about it for 1 second, you'd know that's crazy. And then the other one is, I have a buyer. We have lots of buyers for your area. Oh, Bob, you care about the buyer. Yeah, you represent the buyer. You want the buyer to get a really good deal on my house. In fact, you don't want me to sell my house for what it's worth even. Yeah, Bob, you're not the agent for me, Bob. You care about the buyer, of course. And if I went to any agent's website, I'm going to see search for homes, which tells me you care about the buyer. You want to sell my house at a discount to your buyer that you care about, because I know you don't care about me. Because if you cared about me, your website would be talking about how you can sell houses for more than they're actually worth. So, and if you ever noticed how the real estate industry works like this, nobody is offended when somebody buys a house and gets a really, really good deal. But people sometimes are offended when the seller sells their house for way, way more than it's worth because the buyer overpaid. But when the buyer underpays and the seller loses a ton of money, nobody has a problem with that, do they? That's funny. So if you care about sellers, maybe your website ought to look like that. Maybe you ought to mention it when you're on the phone with people. So saying I have a buyer or doing the just sold calling is the junk that the real estate industry teaches us, because they know nothing about sales. So when you know about sales, what you're going to say on a cold call is this. You're going to say, now when I started cold calling, I would say, hi, my name is Bob Loeffler. You're going to insert name here, of course. Hi, my name is Bob Loeffler. I'm a real estate agent with a company called, Century 21 was my company. So I said, hi, this is Bob Loeffler. I'm with Century 21, and I was just calling to see if you might be thinking of selling your house, okay? If you work for most real estate companies, you have to say, I work for a real estate company called XYZ Realty, and I was just calling to see if you might be thinking of selling your house. And, of course, most people would say no. And I'd say, okay, well, thank you very much for your time. And I'm very quickly on to that next call that might be a yes, okay? So I would be doing that for over and over and over. And then one day I made a call and I said, hi, this is Bob Loeffler. And I was just calling to see if you might be thinking of selling your house. And the guy says, no. And I said, well, do you have any plans of moving ever? And he said, oh, yeah, but not for not for 8 weeks. I'm going, holy cow, it's an emergency. So in even 8 months, that would be an emergency in real estate terms. So I realized I was missing out on people who were thinking of selling their house. So from then on, I would say, hi, my name is Bob Loeffler. I'm a real estate agent with a company called Century 21, and I was just calling to see if you might be thinking of selling your house. And I'm doing it at that pace, okay, nice and slow. Because when you're calling people, they're picking up the phone. They're in the middle of their day. It's completely out of context. They have no idea why you're calling. They're thinking you're going to call them and sell them air conditioning repair. They think it's their kid. They think they're expecting a call from somebody. They're assuming it's them. And then it's you. out of the blue. So you got to go nice and slow and set the context, because you don't want them, the wheels are off and you're in the ditch on a cold call when they say, who is this? What is this about? If you're getting that, it's because you talk too fast. So, hi, my name is Bob Loeffler. I'm a real estate agent with a company called Century 21, and I was just calling to see if you might be thinking of selling your house. They say no. And then you say, do you have any plans of moving ever? And if they say no, then you say, okay, well, thank you very much for your time. So what you don't do is the crazy baloney that the industry teaches you to do, which is to say, do you have any friends or neighbors who might be thinking of selling their house? Hey, you can't even get your own friends and neighbors to refer you business. Do you think a total stranger is going to refer you business on a cold call? No. And it elongates the call. So when you elongate the call with this drivel of I just sold one, just listed one around the corner, or the baloney that is I have a buyer, which sounds like a lie anyway, even if it was true, I wouldn't say it, or the do you have any friends or neighbor? Oh, you're elongating that call. And if over years of cold calling, it could turn into a whole year off of cold calling. That adds up, that extra time that doesn't turn into money. So when they say no, you get off the phone. By the way, your problems don't even begin until they say yes. When they say yes, that's when the problems actually begin, okay? So what happens when they say yes? Well, then we're going to ask them questions, okay? By the way, if any of what we're talking about here makes any sense to you at all, and you happen to be earning less selling real estate than you wish you were, and you're open to the idea of having some help with that, we'd like to help you at Fearless Agent. So if you ever want to learn more, you can always call me anytime. At my cell phone number is 480-385-8810. That's my cell phone. I will answer it, or I'll call you right back. And let's just see if you and what you're trying to do in your real estate business and what we do at Fearless Agent, if it would be a good fit for you. So I love talking to realtors. I don't ever want you to think you're bothering me. I don't want you to email me. I don't want you to text me. And the reason is there is no such thing in sales as texting or email. It's always all about the phone. You got to be great on the phone. So I practice what I preach. So call me anytime, 480-385-8810. If you are one of those folks who cannot afford coaching and you wish you could, I want to make you rich for free so you can afford coaching. So please go to fearlessagent.com, watch our webinar. It's about 45 minutes long. Take lots of notes. Go to the video training page. And my guarantee to everybody is that those free videos would be much, much better coaching than you would pay any other coach any amount of money for. And if you ever have a question, you can always call me, because we want to help you for free so you can afford our coaching as quickly as possible. So we are here for you. So what happens when you're on a cold call and they say yes, okay? All the other coaches teach you to say, when are you going to sell? So when can I make money off of you? See, if imagine you're at a party and your friends say, oh, we're thinking of selling our house, and you're not a realtor. You wouldn't say when, you'd say where are you moving to? Because you're afraid you're not going to see them again, or you care about them. If you only care about you making money, of course, you're going to say, when can I make a buck off of you? And they can smell that on you. So when you're a Fearless Agent, you always care about the customer. You don't need to care about your money. You don't need to care about getting the listing, because you're always going to get the listing because you care about the customer. So where are you moving to is the question. So they're either going to say, well, we're moving to, and they're going to name a town, or we want to get something bigger, or we want to get something different, or they're going to say it. And then the next question is going to be, are you going to rent or are you going to buy? So write that down. Are you going to rent or are you going to buy? Is it going to, no, we're going to buy. Or if they say, we're going to rent, are you going to rent for the rest of your life and never buy another house again? Oh, no, we're just going to rent for a while and then we're going to buy. Okay. Now, I'm looking for a money problem, okay? Because if these people have a money problem, I can help them because I know how to sell their house for way more than it's worth, and I'm going to do it. And they're going to be glad they met me because I'm going to fix at least a part of their money problem. So that's why these questions exist. Where are you moving to? Over there. Are you going to rent or are you going to buy? So if they're going to rent for the rest of their life, probably that's because they have a money problem. If they're going to rent temporarily and then buy, I'm going to say, well, or they're going to buy right away, or when you buy, is it going to be a house or is it going to be a condo? If they're going to buy a condo, which is probably a bad idea if they like money because friends don't let friends buy condos, then maybe it's because they got a money problem. If they're going to buy a house, then I know they have a money problem because houses cost money. So is it going to be bigger than the one you're in now, or is it going to be smaller than the one you're in now? No, it's going to be bigger. Oh, ding, 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 I found the money problem. Is it going to be more expensive than the one you're in now? Yeah, it's probably going to be more expensive. What if they said it's going to be less expensive? Say, well, let's say it was more expensive. Would that be a problem or would that be okay? No, we need it to be less expensive. Ding, ding, ding. I found the money problem. See, that's what I'm looking for. Because if you don't have a money problem, you don't need me. Because I'm in the business of fixing your money problems. That's the whole thing. So they say, yeah, we need it to be cheaper, or yeah, it's going to be more expensive. Okay, well, with that in mind, and now we're going to sell them on the product. Okay, that's what fearless agents do. We're going to sell them on the product. So with that in mind, if I have an amazing strategy, which I do, and no other agent has it, and I already know you know they don't, and it would 1,000% guarantee you that the buyer would grossly overpay for your house, and they'd be happy they did, and you would end up with really tens of thousands of extra dollars, and I'm talking money that you don't deserve. This is money way more than your house is worth, more than any other agent could get you, and I mean net, after all the expenses are paid, more than you could get any other way. Would that help your cause financially, or are you allergic to money? Oh, no, we're not allergic to money, Bob. That would help our cause. Okay. So now that's the product. So what you want to avoid then, obviously, is what all the other agents do, and I already know you know what they do. In fact, it happened to all your neighbors. I happen to know when they sold their houses. They sold their houses way too cheap because what all the other agents do is they care about the buyer, and they want the buyer to get a good deal. And they always talk about you being realistic on your price, and that's the kind of baloney that causes nice folks like you, like your neighbors did, to lose tens of thousands of dollars. So is it fair to say that's what you would want to avoid? Yeah, that is what we want to avoid. Okay. So when I'm able to sell your house, and I am, for way more than it's worth, and you end up with tens of thousands of extra dollars, you're not going to be offended. Is that correct? Yes, I'm not going to be offended. Okay. So do they get the sense now that all I care about is them and their money and making the buyer? Yeah, so that's what I care about. So when is the soonest you would be willing to open up your hand, let me plunk all the money and the tens of thousands of extra dollars into it, and that would coincide with moving day probably? And then I know when, then I find out when, okay? So by the way, if that's soon enough, great. If it's out a ways, then I would say, so if you knew, they say, it's not going to be for like 8 months. Okay. So if you knew that you'd be losing tens of thousands of dollars, and that probably is true, by waiting just 8 months, would you have to wait? Well, how in the world would I lose tens of thousands of dollars by waiting just 8 months? Well, it wouldn't matter if you have to wait. Do you have to wait? No, I don't have to wait. That's called fearless agents always getting their question answered. So if you don't have to wait with that in mind to avoid losing tens of thousands of dollars, what's the soonest you would move up your plans? What's the soonest moving day realistically would ever be? And if it's soon enough that it's time to book the appointment, then I'd say, can I explain step by step exactly how I get you the tens of thousands of extra dollars? Yes, Bob. Okay, step number one is we're going to meet. And I like to meet with people in the afternoons or the evenings. Do you guys have 9 to 5 jobs? Yes, we do. Okay, well, I've got 7 p.m. available on Thursday, or would the following Monday be better? And then we book the appointment. Then I'm going to send them a letter confirming the listing appointment. If I'm not going to book the appointment, then I'm going to send them a thank you note that says, thank you for your time on the telephone. In today's business world, time is precious. You can rest assured that I will always be respectful of the time you invest as we discuss the possibility of a mutually beneficial business opportunity. Sincerely, Bob. Thank you, Tommy Hopkins, for that great letter. And then a couple of business cards, and then I'm going to follow up. So the follow-up is what makes that work, okay? So real estate is a simple business, okay? We're going to try to close for the appointment. If we can't, we're going to say, when should I check back with you? Whatever they say, I'm going to cut it in half, okay? Then I'm going to do my follow-up call. I'm going to send them the thank you note. First of all, I'm going to send them the thank you note, schedule the follow-up call, and then I'm going to rinse and repeat. And it's never, ever going to be more complicated than that. So, rule of thumb, if you don't do all the stupid baloney that you've been taught by all these other coaches out there that just plain and simple, clearly are not the right things to say, and you protect your time and you don't offend the sellers with all this baloney, and you follow up and you treat people nice, and you always care about the customer, and you don't care about the deal. You always care about the customer, and you don't care about getting the listing. You just care about the customer and their money. And if you care about the customer more than any other agent will, and you care about more about their money and getting their house sold for more than it's worth, more than any other agent will, you'll never lose a listing. And that literally is the secret to success in real estate. So once again, I want to thank you for joining us today. Please do visit us at fearlessagent.com. You can always call me directly. If you ever have a question about anything, if you're not sure whether our coaching would be right for you or not, if it's not, I'll explain why not. If it is, you'll know. You can call me at 480-385-8810. Please go to give us a review of this podcast on iTunes. If you like it, give us a 5-star review. If you don't like it, don't give us a review. That would help me. Visit us on Twitter. You wouldn't even be listening now if you didn't. But you can visit us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Always, until next week, always have fun, always be humble, and most of all, be fearless. Thanks, gang.